Hey, Liam. It's so nice to see you again.
Great to see you too, Emma. You look like you've been thinking about something.
I have, actually. I've always wanted to go to a party in the US. It looks like so much fun. Everyone talking, laughing, meeting new people. But there's one thing that honestly makes me nervous.
Let me guess. Starting conversations?
That and understanding everyone. I'm afraid I'll walk in, smile at someone, and then have no idea what to say or what they're saying.
That's a very real fear, and you're definitely not the only one. The good news is, starting conversations at American parties is much easier than most people think.
Really? Because it looks so natural when Americans do it.
That's because most of them aren't using clever lines or complicated English. In fact, if you only remember one sentence from today's lesson, make it this one. Hi. How do you know the host? Simple, natural, and almost impossible to answer with just a yes or no.
That's actually much simpler than I expected.
But there's even more, of course. By the end of today's lesson, you'll know exactly how to start a conversation, keep it going naturally, and I'll also show you the biggest mistake English learners make after those first 30 seconds.
That's fantastic. But wait, Liam, why does that first question you showed me work so well?
Let me ask you something. When you walk into a party, what's usually going through your mind?
Too many things. What if nobody talks to me? What if my English isn't good enough? What if I say something weird? By the time I finish thinking, everyone else already seems to be talking to someone else.
That's exactly what happens to most people. They think the hardest part is speaking English, but the hardest part is actually getting out of their own head.
That's so true. I spend more time talking to myself than talking to anyone else.
Exactly. And while you're having that full conversation in your head, everyone else is simply saying, hi.
That sounds so obvious now.
Because real conversations usually begin in very ordinary ways. Most people aren't looking for someone who's funny, brilliant, or perfect. They're just looking for someone who's easy to talk to.
So I don't need an amazing opening line?
Not at all. Actually, trying too hard often makes things more awkward. Simple almost always wins.
So I can just say, hi, how do you know the host? It's not that hard, right?
Of course not. It immediately gives the other person a story to tell. Maybe they went to college together, or maybe they work together. Whatever the answer is, the conversation has already started.
That's so true. Can I tell you something embarrassing?
Please do.
A while ago, I went to a small party where I didn't know anyone except the host. I walked in, grabbed a drink, looked around, and spent almost 10 minutes pretending to read the labels on the snack table.
The snack table is a very popular hiding place.
Apparently. I kept waiting for the perfect moment to talk to someone, but it never came.
Because perfect moments rarely arrive on their own. Most conversations begin simply because someone decides to create the moment.
That's exactly what I realized later. Nobody was avoiding me. Everyone was simply talking to the people closest to them.
Right. And here's something most people never notice. Many of those conversations started with something incredibly simple. Hi, I'm Liam. Or, how do you know the host? Nothing clever.
I think I expected every conversation to begin like it does in the movies.
With the perfect joke?
Exactly. Or some incredibly clever introduction.
Real life is much simpler.
Liam, have you ever met someone who was incredibly easy to talk to?
I have. Years ago, I was at a neighborhood barbecue. I didn't know many people there. One man walked over, smiled, and asked, "So, how do you know Mike?" I answered. Then he asked one more question. "Have you lived around here long?"
That's amazing. The conversation grew naturally.
Exactly. He didn't have a list of perfect questions. He simply listened to my answers and stayed curious.
I think that's what surprises me the most. He wasn't trying to impress you, he was trying to get to know you.
Exactly. And people almost always enjoy conversations where they feel heard.
I'm starting to realize that the first sentence isn't actually the most important part.
You're right. The first sentence only opens the door. What keeps the conversation alive is what happens next.
Liam, earlier you said there's one mistake almost every English learner makes after the conversation starts. I have a feeling I've made it too.
Let me ask you something. Imagine someone walks up to you and says, "Hi, how do you know the host?" You answer. Then what happens?
I usually wait for them to say something else.
Exactly. And many times, that's the problem. They are waiting for you too.
So we're both standing there waiting for the other person.
That's exactly how a lot of conversations quietly end. Not because anyone was rude, and not because the English was bad, but simply because nobody kept the conversation moving.
I never realized that. I always thought the other person was supposed to ask the next question.
Sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. The easiest way to keep a conversation alive is surprisingly simple. Answer, then ask.
Answer, then ask. I like that. So how does that work in real life?
Think of a conversation like a tennis match. One person hits the ball, and the other person hits it back. Then the game continues. If someone asks, "How do you know the host?" you might answer, "We work together." Then gently hit the ball back. What about you?
That sounds so natural. Why have I never thought of this before?
It is natural. Sometimes you're just nervous, trying to find something more genius to say, but you really don't have to.
Looking back, I think I usually stop right after my answer.
Most learners do. They answer correctly and accidentally end the conversation right there.
Now I remember. I've definitely done that before. Can I tell you about another party?
Absolutely.
Someone walked over and asked, "What do you do?" I smiled and said, "I'm an English teacher." Then I just stood there smiling.
Let me guess. The conversation became very quiet.
Almost immediately, I remember thinking, well, now what?
The funny thing is, you were only one question away from a completely different conversation. Imagine this instead. "I'm an English teacher. What about you?"
It's amazing how 4 little words can change everything.
Exactly. Sometimes great conversations don't need a larger vocabulary. They simply need one more question.
I'm finally picturing myself changing the way I talk at my next party. But wait, what's a good question to ask after that?
Follow whatever the other person gives you. Imagine someone says, "I'm a photographer." Don't change the topic. Stay curious. You could ask, "How did you get into photography?" Or, "What's your favorite thing to photograph?"
Those questions feel much more interesting than just saying, "Oh, nice."
Exactly. Because now you're inviting a story. People usually enjoy talking about their experiences much more than just stating facts.
That makes so much sense. If someone asked me, "Why did you become an English teacher?" I'd probably have a lot more to say.
Exactly. Curiosity creates conversation.
You know what used to worry me? I thought I needed to have incredibly interesting stories before talking to people.
That's another myth. People don't expect you to entertain them, they just expect you to be present.
What do you mean by that?
Listen carefully. React naturally. Smile when something is funny. Ask another question when you're curious. Those habits matter much more than trying to sound impressive.
That's actually a relief. Sometimes I spent so much time trying to think of something clever to say that I stopped listening completely.
And that's exactly what curiosity prevents. When you're genuinely interested in the other person, you stop worrying about performing.
Has that ever happened to you? Were you ever so nervous that you almost missed a great conversation?
Definitely. A few years ago, I was at a holiday party. I was about to leave when someone beside me said, "The desserts are amazing tonight." It wasn't a clever opening line. It wasn't even an important topic. But I smiled, agreed, and then asked, "Have you tried the chocolate cake?" That tiny conversation lasted almost an hour.
Seriously? It all started with dessert?
Exactly. People think memorable conversations must begin with memorable sentences, but most of them actually begin with very ordinary moments.
Wow, Liam, that really opened my mind.
There's another tip I'm going to give you right now. Look around and talk about what you see. It's simple, and it works every time. That's what great conversationalists do all the time. Maybe someone is holding a unique drink. Maybe there's great music playing. Or maybe everyone is watching a game on TV. Those are all natural conversation starters.
That feels so much easier than trying to memorize dozens of phrases.
Because you're not memorizing, you're observing. Good conversations usually begin with curiosity about the exact moment you are sharing.
I like that. It feels much more natural. You know what's funny? Some of my favorite conversations have happened completely by accident.
Mine too. That's another reason I don't like memorizing perfect conversation scripts. Real conversations rarely follow a script. They naturally change direction.
So it's okay if the conversation doesn't go exactly as I imagined.
That's usually a very good sign. It means the conversation is real and natural.
You know what's changed for me today? I used to think starting conversations was all about confidence. Now I think it's about curiosity.
That's beautifully said. Confidence doesn't appear before the conversation. It grows during the conversation.
Which means the hardest conversation is usually just the first one.
Before we finish, we'd love to hear from you. Imagine you're at a party right now. What's the very first question you'd ask someone? Write it in the comments below. Maybe you'll inspire someone else's next conversation.
I read your comments every week, and what I've learned today, I definitely won't forget.
But what happens when you step outside the party and try to talk to the people living right next door to you? Communicating with your American neighbors can actually be just as tricky, especially when friendly phrases don't mean what they literally say.
Wait, really? Like what?
Well, if you want to know what it actually means when a neighbor says, "We should get together sometime," or how to avoid the most common neighborhood misunderstandings, you cannot miss our next lesson right here on the screen. Neighbor Rules: What You Need to Know.
You'll discover the unwritten social codes that will make you feel like a welcomed part of any American neighborhood from day one. Click right now to join us.
Thanks so much for learning with us today. Keep smiling,
Keep asking.
and we'll see you in the next lesson.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.